The blood-orange sun dipped low on the horizon as Olivia Winters clutched her daughter's small hand, both of them standing before a freshly dug grave that held the last of their hopes alongside her husband's body. 3 months since the smallpox took him, and now the last of their meager savings had been spent on medicine that failed to save him anyway. "Mama, I'm hungry," 5-year-old Lily whispered, tugging at Olivia's black morning dress, now hanging loose on her frame from weeks of sharing her portions with her daughter. "I know, sweet one," Olivia replied, brushing back a strand of her copper hair that had escaped her bonnet. At 25, she had never imagined becoming a widow in this unforgiving Wyoming Territory of 1875. "We'll find something soon." Their small homestead outside Copper Creek had withered during Thomas's illness. The crops had failed from neglect, and the last chicken had been stolen by coyotes 2 weeks ago. There was nothing left but the cabin itself, and even that would soon belong to the bank unless a miracle happened. As they made their way back to their cabin in the growing twilight, Olivia's mind spun with desperate calculations. They had enough flour for perhaps 3 more days of biscuits. After that, she refused to complete the thought. When dawn broke the next morning, Olivia had made her decision. She dressed carefully in her second-best dress, arranging her hair as neatly as possible beneath her bonnet. She needed to look respectable, not desperate, though she certainly was the latter. "Lily, we're going into town today," she told her daughter, who brightened at the prospect of seeing something besides their failing homestead. Copper Creek was a growing settlement, with a main street boasting a general store, saloon, blacksmith, and several other establishments catering to the ranchers, miners, and farmers of the region. Olivia headed straight for the general store, owned by kindly Mrs. Gunderson, who had always had a soft spot for the Winters family. "Mrs. Gunderson," Olivia began, trying to keep her voice steady, "I was wondering if you might need help in the store." "I can stock shelves, keep accounts, whatever you need. We're in dire straits since Thomas passed." The older woman's eyes filled with sympathy. "Oh, my dear, I wish I could. Business has been slow with the mine layoffs. I barely make enough to keep Harold and myself fed." One by one, Olivia made her way through the town's businesses, receiving the same apologetic responses. By midday, she stood outside the Rusty Nail Saloon, hesitating. Working in a saloon wasn't respectable for a widow with a child, but desperation was setting in as Lily's stomach growled audibly. Just as she was about to push through the swinging doors, a deep voice called out behind her, "Mrs. Winters." "Is that you?" Olivia turned to see Daniel Sutton, owner of the Silver Creek Ranch that bordered what had been the Winters' property to the north. She'd only met him a handful of times when Thomas was alive, trading pleasantries at church socials or passing on the road to town. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with sun-weathered skin and eyes the color of a summer sky. At 30, he'd built his ranch into one of the most successful in the territory. "Mr. Sutton," she acknowledged with a small nod, embarrassment flushing her cheeks at being caught contemplating entering a saloon. His gaze was direct but kind. "I heard about Thomas. My condolences, madam." "Thank you," she replied stiffly, pride making her straighten her shoulders despite the hunger gnawing at her insides. He glanced down at Lily, who was half hidden behind her mother's skirts. "And this must be the little Miss Winters I've heard about." Lily peered up at him with curiosity. Daniel crouched down to her level, pulling a peppermint stick from his pocket. "Would your mama mind if I gave you this?" Olivia hesitated only briefly before nodding her permission. The smile that lit up Lily's face as she accepted the candy made Olivia's heart ache. "What brings you to town today, Mrs. Winters?" he asked, straightening to his full height again. She considered lying, making up some errand, but something in his direct gaze made prevarication seem pointless. "I'm looking for work, Mr. Sutton, any work at all." His brow furrowed. "Things that bad?" "Worse," she admitted quietly, so Lily wouldn't hear. "We have food for maybe 3 more days, and the bank will take our land by month's end." Daniel was silent for a moment, his expression thoughtful. I've been meaning to call on you actually. I could use your 40 acres to expand my grazing land. The creek that runs through your property would be mighty valuable in dry seasons. Hope flared briefly in Olivia's chest. Perhaps she could sell the land to him instead of losing it to the bank. At least then she'd have something to show for Thomas's years of backbreaking work. But, Daniel continued, what I really need is someone to help run the house. My housekeeper left last month to care for her ailing mother in Denver. Place is falling to pieces without a woman's touch. Olivia stiffened. Are you offering me a position as your housekeeper, Mr. Sutton? I am. Room and board for you and your daughter plus wages. Proper wages, not charity, he added, seeming to read her thoughts. I'll work forever if it means keeping a roof over my daughter's head, Olivia said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Something shifted in Daniel's expression, a softening around his eyes. Work beside me as my wife instead, he said quietly. Olivia gasped, certain she had misheard. I beg your pardon, Daniel looked as surprised by his words as she was. He removed his hat, running a hand through his dark hair. That came out wrong. What I meant to say was, I need a housekeeper now, yes, but I've been looking for a wife for some time. Someone practical, hardworking, someone who knows ranch life. Mr. Sutton, we barely know each other, Olivia protested, though her mind was already calculating what this could mean for Lily's future. I know you're a good mother. I know Thomas always spoke highly of you, said you could outwork most men when it came to keeping that homestead running. And I know I'm offering security for you and your daughter. You're proposing a marriage of convenience, Olivia clarified, her voice low. Daniel's eyes held hers steadily. For now, but who knows what might grow from there. My parents started the same way after my mother was widowed with my older brother. They found love eventually. Olivia's mind spun with the implications. She glanced down at Lily, who was happily enjoying her candy, oblivious to the life-changing conversation happening above her head. I need time to think, she said finally. Of course, Daniel nodded. In the meantime, come out to the ranch, work as my housekeeper. See if you can tolerate me, he added with a slight smile. If after a month you find the idea completely repellent, you'll have earned enough to make a fresh start elsewhere. It was more than fair, more than generous. When would you want us to start? My wagon's out front. I can take you home to gather your things and bring you back to the ranch today. Olivia hesitated only briefly. Very well, Mr. Sutton, we accept your offer of employment. Daniel, he corrected. If we're to live under the same roof, even temporarily, we should use first names. Daniel, she repeated, the name feeling strange on her tongue. I'm Olivia. Olivia, he echoed, his voice warming the syllables. Welcome to Silver Creek Ranch. 3 hours later, Olivia and Lily sat in Daniel's wagon as it rolled up to the main house of Silver Creek Ranch. Olivia's few belongings and treasured mementos were packed in 2 trunks in the wagon bed. She had taken only what could not be replaced: Thomas's pocket watch, their wedding photograph, her mother's china teacup, and the family Bible with its recorded births, marriages, and deaths. The ranch house was impressive by frontier standards: 2 stories of solid timber construction with a wide porch wrapping around 3 sides. Smoke curled from 2 chimneys, and a well-tended flower garden softened the approach to the house. It's so big, Lily exclaimed, her eyes wide as saucers. Daniel chuckled. Plenty of room to run and play, he told her, then glanced at Olivia. And plenty of work to keep us all busy. The interior of the house revealed the truth of his statement about needing a woman's touch. While structurally sound and well-built, the rooms showed signs of bachelor neglect: a thin layer of dust on the mantelpiece, dishes stacked haphazardly in the kitchen, and bootprints tracked across otherwise fine wooden floors. I'll show you to your rooms, Daniel said, leading them upstairs. Lily can have this one next to yours. It was my sister's when she still lived here. The small bedroom was painted a soft yellow, with a child-sized bed and a bookshelf containing a few well-worn volumes. Lily immediately ran to examine a doll sitting in a tiny rocking chair. Your sister won't mind, Olivia asked. Rebecca's been married and living in Cheyenne for 4 years now. She'd be pleased to know her old room is bringing a child joy again. Olivia's room was next door, a generous space with a 4-poster bed, washstand, wardrobe, and a small writing desk beneath a window that overlooked the eastern pastures. It was larger than the entire main room of her cabin had been. "This is too fine for a housekeeper," she protested. Daniel shrugged. "It's the only bedroom prepared for use. The others need airing out and fresh linens. You can switch later if you prefer something simpler." That evening, after putting Lily to bed in her new room, Olivia descended to the kitchen to find Daniel sitting at the table, account books spread before him. "Is there anything I can get you?" she asked, feeling awkward in her new role. He looked up, seeming equally uncertain. "No need." "I was just finishing up here." He gestured to the coffee pot on the stove. "Help yourself if you'd like some." Olivia poured herself a cup and sat across from him. The coffee was strong but good, warming her from the inside. "I want to thank you for your kindness today," she said finally. "You didn't have to do any of this." "It's not entirely selfless," he admitted. "The house needs tending, and I've been eating my own cooking for too long. The men are threatening mutiny if they have to endure another batch of my biscuits." That surprised a laugh out of her. "Are they truly that terrible?" "Like rocks," he confirmed with a rueful smile. "I can manage a decent stew and fry up bacon, but anything requiring a light touch is beyond me." "Well, I can certainly help there. My biscuits won't cause any dental emergencies." For a moment they shared a smile, and Olivia felt something ease between them, the beginnings of comfort, perhaps even friendship. "Your proposal," she said after a moment, setting her cup down carefully. "Was it truly serious?" Daniel closed his ledger, giving her his full attention. "It is. But I understand your hesitation. We're strangers to each other." "Not entirely," she corrected. "Our farms, ranch, and homestead have been neighboring for 3 years. We've exchanged pleasantries at church socials and town gatherings. True, but that's hardly enough to base a marriage on." Olivia traced the rim of her coffee cup with one finger. "What would you expect of me? As a wife, I mean." Daniel considered the question seriously. "The same things I'd expect of a housekeeper, I suppose. Cooking, cleaning, keeping the house in order. Plus," he added, his ears reddening slightly, "the usual wifely duties." "Children," Olivia supplied, saving him from having to specify further. "Eventually, yes. I'd like more children, but I wouldn't rush you into that. Lily would be my daughter in every way that matters. She'd have my name, my protection, and whatever advantages I can provide." It was more than Olivia could have hoped for just a day earlier. "And what of affection?" Daniel met her gaze directly. "I believe affection can grow where there's respect. I already respect you, Olivia." "The rest might come in time," she nodded slowly. "A month then. I'll work as your housekeeper, and at the end of that time I'll give you my answer." "Fair enough," Daniel agreed. "Now I've kept you up late enough. Get some rest. Ranch life starts early." The next morning, Olivia rose before dawn, determined to prove her worth. By the time Daniel and his ranch hands came in for breakfast, she had biscuits baking, coffee brewing, and eggs and bacon ready to serve. "Sweet mercy," exclaimed a weathered cowhand named Pete as he bit into a warm biscuit. "Boss, you're never letting this woman leave, you hear?" "Mind your manners," Daniel reprimanded, though his own expression of bliss as he tasted her cooking suggested he shared the sentiment. The days fell into a comfortable rhythm. Olivia rose early to prepare breakfast, spent the mornings cleaning and organizing the long-neglected house, prepared dinner for the ranch hands, and then used the afternoons to tackle special projects, mending, preserving, and gradually transforming the bachelor dwelling into a true home. Lily thrived in the open spaces of the ranch. Daniel took time each evening to teach her about the animals, letting her help feed the chickens and collect eggs. He even found a gentle old mare that had once belonged to his sister and began teaching Lily to ride. Watching them together, Olivia felt a warmth blooming in her chest. Daniel was unfailingly patient with her daughter, answering her endless questions and treating her with the same consideration he might show a valued guest. 2 weeks into their arrangement, Daniel invited Olivia to accompany him on his evening ride around the property. "I thought you might like to see more of Silver Creek," he explained, holding the reins of a dappled mare. "This is Daisy. She's steady and calm, perfect for a rider who might be a bit out of practice." Olivia hesitated. "I haven't ridden since before Lily was born." "I'll stay right beside you," he promised, "and we won't go far." The evening was perfect for riding, the heat of the day fading into a pleasant warmth, the setting sun painting the grasslands in golds and ambers. Daniel kept his word, staying close as Olivia reacquainted herself with the rhythm of horseback riding. "You're a natural," he observed as she grew more confident. "Most city women would be clinging to the saddle horn and screaming by now." "I'm hardly a city woman," she reminded him with a smile. "I grew up on a farm in Missouri before my family moved west." They rode to a rise overlooking the ranch buildings and the surrounding land. In the distance, Olivia could make out the outline of what had been her homestead. "I want to show you something," Daniel said, dismounting and helping her down from her horse. He led her to the crest of the hill and pointed west. "See where the creek bends there and the cottonwoods make that line along the bank?" Olivia nodded. "That's where I'm planning to build a new house. Larger than the current one, with proper bedrooms for a growing family, a study for business matters, and a kitchen that would make any woman proud." "It sounds lovely," Olivia said, trying to picture it. "I've had the timber seasoning for almost a year." "I was waiting until I had a reason to build it." His eyes met hers, clear and direct. "You could be that reason, Olivia," her heart quickened. "Daniel, I know. You said a month, and I'm respecting that, but I wanted you to see the possibilities." He looked out over the land, his expression earnest. "This ranch has everything except a true home. You've started to change that in just 2 weeks. Is that all you want, a housekeeper who can give you children?" The question came out more sharply than she intended. Daniel turned to face her fully. "No, I want a partner, someone to share the burdens and joys of this life, someone who sees what I'm building here and wants to be part of it." "And what of love?" Olivia asked quietly. "Does that matter to you?" "More than I realized," he admitted. "Watching you with Lily, seeing how you pour your heart into everything you do, I'm beginning to understand what I've been missing." The sunset gilded his features, highlighting the earnest emotion in his eyes. For a moment, Olivia allowed herself to imagine a future here, not just security for Lily, but perhaps happiness for herself as well. "We should head back," she said finally. "Lily will be wondering where we are." Daniel nodded, helping her mount Daisy again. As they rode back in companionable silence, Olivia found herself watching him from the corner of her eye, noting the confidence in his posture, the gentleness of his hands on the reins, the way the evening light caught in his dark hair. Perhaps, she thought, there could be more than convenience between them after all. The 3rd week brought challenges. A late spring storm swept through the region, bringing driving rain and fierce winds that damaged the barn roof and flooded part of the lower pasture. Olivia found herself pressed into service beyond household duties, helping to move livestock to higher ground and tending to a young ranch hand who had been injured when a spooked horse kicked him. "You're good at this," Daniel observed as she efficiently bandaged the young man's arm. "Where did you learn?" "My mother was the closest thing to a doctor our small town had," Olivia explained, tying off the bandage neatly. "She taught me what she knew." Later that evening, after the worst of the storm had passed, Daniel found Olivia in the kitchen, bone-weary but still preparing a hot meal for the men who had worked through the day. "You should rest," he told her. "You've done more than enough." Olivia shook her head. "They need to eat. Especially after a day like today." Daniel stepped closer, gently taking the ladle from her hand. "So do you. Sit down. I can serve stew without ruining it." Too tired to argue, Olivia sank into a chair at the kitchen table. Daniel placed a bowl of stew before her, then surprised her by sitting across from her with his own portion instead of joining the men in the bunkhouse. "I've been thinking," he said after they had eaten in silence for a few minutes, "about our arrangement." Olivia's stomach tightened. "Oh. You've proven yourself 10 times over as a housekeeper. But today I saw something more. You didn't hesitate to jump in where you were needed. You treated Jed's injury, helped move the calves to higher ground, and still managed to feed everyone." "It needed doing," she said simply. "That's just it." Daniel leaned forward, his expression intent. "You see what needs doing and you do it. That's rare, Olivia. That's the quality of a true partner." She felt her cheeks warm under his earnest gaze. "Is that what you want, a partner?" "It is," he confirmed. "I know our month isn't up yet, but I'm more certain than ever that you're the right woman to help me build something lasting here." Olivia looked down at her half-eaten stew, her thoughts whirling. "I don't know if I can be what you need, Daniel. I respect you enormously, and I'm grateful for all you've done for Lily and me, but marriage should be more than gratitude and respect." "I agree," he said quietly. "Which is why I find myself hoping you might come to care for me as more than just your employer." Her eyes snapped up to meet his. "What are you saying?" Daniel reached across the table, his fingers just brushing hers. "I'm saying that in these 3 weeks, you've become important to me, Olivia, more important than I expected. When I saw you out there today in the midst of the storm, helping wherever you could, I realized I admire you, and that admiration is quickly becoming something deeper." Olivia's breath caught in her throat. Daniel, a cry from upstairs, interrupted whatever she might have said. "Mama, Mama, I'm scared." Lily's voice, high and frightened, broke the moment between them. "The storm must have woken her," Olivia said, rising quickly. "Excuse me." Daniel nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Of course, go to her." Upstairs, Olivia found Lily huddled beneath her blankets, tears streaming down her face as thunder rumbled outside. "Shh, sweet one," Olivia soothed, gathering her daughter into her arms. "It's just a storm, it can't hurt you in here." "I want Papa," Lily sobbed, breaking Olivia's heart anew. "I know, love, I miss him too." She rocked her daughter gently, humming a lullaby that had always calmed her. A soft knock at the door drew her attention. Daniel stood there, a concerned expression on his face. "Everything all right, just storm fears," Olivia explained softly, "and missing her father." Daniel nodded in understanding. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward them. At Olivia's nod, he entered the room, crouching beside the bed where she sat with Lily. "Hey there, Miss Lily," he said gently. "Storms can be pretty scary, can't they?" Lily nodded, her tear-stained face peeking out from her mother's embrace. "You know what my pa used to tell me when I was scared of storms," Daniel continued. "He said the thunder was just the clouds playing bowling up in the sky, and every big boom meant someone got a strike." This elicited a watery giggle from Lily. "That's silly." "Maybe," Daniel agreed with a smile. "But it helped me not be so scared, and you know what else? Storms help the flowers and the grass grow. Without them, everything would be brown and dry." "Like when Mama's flowers got all crispy last summer?" Lily asked. "Exactly like that." "So even though they're loud and a little scary, storms are actually helping all the growing things." Lily considered this seriously. "I still don't like the loud noises." "That's fair," Daniel acknowledged. "How about I tell you a story until you fall back asleep?" "One about a brave little girl who wasn't afraid of anything?" "Yes, please," Lily said, settling back against her pillows. Olivia made to leave, but Daniel's hand on her arm stopped her. "Stay," he said softly, "if you'd like to." So she stayed, listening as Daniel spun a tale about a girl named Lily who could talk to animals and went on adventures with her horse friend. His voice was rich and soothing, and before long, Lily's eyelids grew heavy and finally closed in sleep. "You're good with her," Olivia whispered as they tiptoed from the room. "She makes it easy," Daniel replied. "She's a special child." They paused in the hallway between their rooms, the air between them charged with unspoken thoughts. "About what you said earlier," Olivia began hesitantly. Daniel took her hand, his touch warm and steady. I meant every word, but I won't rush you, Olivia. You have a week left to decide. She looked up at him, studying the sincerity in his eyes. What if I don't need a week? His breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying that watching you with Lily tonight, seeing how gentle and patient you are with her, it made me realize something too. She took a deep breath. I'm beginning to care for you, Daniel, not just as my employer or potential husband, but as a man. The smile that spread across his face was like sunrise breaking over the mountains. Olivia, he breathed, his hand coming up to cup her cheek. She leaned into his touch, surprised by how natural it felt. I'm not promising love yet, she cautioned, but I think it could grow between us with time. That's all I ask, he murmured, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. May I kiss you, just once to seal our understanding? Olivia nodded, her heart fluttering in her chest as Daniel leaned down, his lips meeting hers in a gentle, questioning kiss. It was brief but tender, a promise rather than a demand. When they parted, Olivia felt a blush warming her cheeks. Good night, Daniel, she whispered. Good night, Olivia, he replied, his voice rough with emotion. Sleep well. The next morning dawned clear and bright, the storm having blown itself out overnight. Olivia found herself humming as she prepared breakfast, a lightness in her step that had been absent for months. Daniel came in from his early morning chores, pausing in the doorway to watch her with a smile. Morning, he greeted. You're in good spirits today. It's a beautiful morning after the storm, she replied, returning his smile. And I've made a decision I feel good about. His expression grew serious. About us, Olivia nodded, wiping her hands on her apron. Yes. I'd like to accept your proposal, Daniel. I think we could build a good life together. The joy that lit his features was answer enough, but he crossed the kitchen in 3 long strides, taking her hands in his. You've made me the happiest man in Wyoming Territory, he declared, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. There are conditions, she added, trying to sound stern despite the happiness bubbling up inside her. Name them, he said immediately. First, we wait at least 2 months before the wedding. I want Lily to have time to adjust to the idea, and I think we should have a proper courtship, even if the outcome is already decided. Daniel nodded. Absolutely reasonable. What else? Second, I want to visit Thomas's grave before we marry, to say goodbye properly. A shadow of understanding crossed his face. Of course, we'll go whenever you're ready. And third, Olivia continued, a small smile playing at her lips, you have to promise never to make your rock-hard biscuits again. I can't have my reputation as a cook tarnished by association. That startled a laugh out of him. I solemnly swear to leave all biscuit-making to your capable hands, he vowed, raising his right hand as if taking an oath. Their laughter brought Lily running into the kitchen, her eyes bright with curiosity. What's so funny? Daniel crouched down to her level. Your mama was just making fun of my terrible cooking skills, he explained. Your biscuits are really hard, Lily agreed solemnly. I tried to feed one to the chickens yesterday, and they couldn't even peck it apart. Daniel's mock outrage sent both Olivia and Lily into fresh peals of laughter. Watching them, Olivia felt a warmth spreading through her chest. This wasn't the life she had planned, but perhaps it was the one she needed, one with laughter, security, and the promise of growing affection. Lily, she said when their giggles had subsided, Mr. Sutton and I have something to tell you. Daniel moved to stand beside her, his presence steady and reassuring. We do, he agreed. What is it? Lily asked, looking between them curiously. Olivia knelt to her daughter's level. Mr. Sutton has asked me to marry him, and I've said yes. That means we would stay here permanently and he would be your new papa. How would you feel about that? Lily's eyes widened. Would I still have to call him Mr. Sutton? Daniel chuckled. No, little one. You could call me Daniel for now, and maybe someday, when you're comfortable, you might call me Papa, but only when you're ready. Lily considered this seriously, her small brow furrowed in thought. Would you still teach me to ride horses and tell me stories when it storms? Every day and every storm, Daniel promised solemnly. Then I think it's a good idea, Lily decided, her expression clearing. Mama smiles more when you're around. Olivia felt her cheeks warm at her daughter's perceptive observation. Daniel's hand found hers, squeezing gently. "I smile more when she's around, too," he told Lily with a wink. The next 2 months passed in a whirlwind of activity. News of their engagement spread quickly through the small community, bringing well-wishers and curious visitors to the ranch. Daniel began work on the new house, determined to have at least part of it ready by their wedding day. True to his word, he courted Olivia, properly bringing her wildflowers from the range, taking her on rides to see the most beautiful spots on the ranch, and spending evenings on the porch talking about their hopes and plans for the future. As they grew to know each other better, Olivia found herself increasingly drawn to Daniel's steady strength, his unwavering integrity, and the gentle way he had with both her and Lily. What had begun as gratitude and respect was blossoming into something deeper, something that made her heart race when he took her hand or caught her eye across a room. 1 week before their wedding, Daniel drove Olivia to the small cemetery where Thomas was buried. He waited respectfully with the wagon while she spent time alone at the grave. "I think you would approve, Thomas," Olivia said softly, arranging the wildflowers she had brought. "He's a good man, he adores Lily, and he's been nothing but honorable with me. I'll always keep your memory alive for her, but it's time for us both to move forward." A sense of peace settled over her as she said her goodbyes. When she returned to the wagon, Daniel helped her up without asking questions, simply offering his silent support. "Thank you," she said as they headed back toward the ranch, "for understanding that I needed this." Daniel nodded. "Thomas will always be a part of who you are and who Lily is. I'd never want to erase that." Olivia studied his profile, the strong line of his jaw, the kindness in his eyes. "I'm falling in love with you," she said suddenly, the words surprising even her. "I wasn't sure it was possible to love again, but I am." Daniel pulled the wagon to a halt, turning to face her fully. "Olivia," he breathed, his expression filled with wonder. "I've loved you since that day in the storm when you worked alongside me without complaint, your hair coming loose from its pins, determination in every line of your body." He reached for her, drawing her into a kiss that was deeper and more passionate than their previous ones, a kiss that spoke of desire and commitment, and a future bright with promise. When they parted, both breathless, Olivia couldn't help but laugh. "And to think, this all started because I was desperate enough to say I'd work forever. And I was smart enough to ask you to work beside me as my wife instead," Daniel finished, his eyes crinkling with happiness. "Best decision I ever made." Their wedding day dawned clear and warm, a perfect June morning. The ceremony was held on the ranch, beneath the spreading branches of a massive cottonwood tree near the site where their new home was rising. Reverend Johnson from the Copper Creek Church officiated, and it seemed the entire community turned out to witness the union. Olivia wore a dress of pale blue silk that Daniel had ordered specially from Denver, with Lily at her side in a matching smaller gown. As she walked toward Daniel, seeing the love and admiration shining in his eyes, Olivia felt the last shadows of grief lifting from her heart. "You are so beautiful," Daniel whispered as she reached him. "Dearly beloved," the Reverend began, "we are gathered here today to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony." The words of the ceremony washed over Olivia like a blessing. When it came time for their vows, Daniel spoke with such clear conviction that tears sprang to her eyes. "I, Daniel Sutton, take you, Olivia Winters, to be my lawfully wedded wife. I promise to love and cherish you, to protect and provide for you and Lily, to be faithful and true all the days of my life. What began as convenience has become the greatest blessing of my life, and I will spend every day working to be worthy of the trust you've placed in me." When it was her turn, Olivia's voice shook slightly with emotion. "I, Olivia Winters, take you, Daniel Sutton, to be my lawfully wedded husband. I promise to stand by your side through all of life's storms and sunshine, to make a true home with you, to honor and respect you, and to love you with an open heart. You reached out when I was at my lowest point and offered not just security, but the chance for happiness. I will forever be grateful, and I will love you all the days of my life. By the power vested in me, the Reverend concluded after they had exchanged rings, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Daniel's kiss was tender and reverent, a promise sealed before their community. When they turned to face their guests as Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Sutton, Olivia felt Lily's small hand slip into hers. "Are you happy, Mama?" her daughter whispered. Olivia looked from Lily to Daniel, her heart full to bursting. "Yes, my love, happier than I ever thought possible." 5 years later, Olivia stood on the porch of their completed home, watching as Daniel taught their 3-year-old son, James, to sit on a pony while 7-year-old Lily offered enthusiastic advice. Her hand rested on her swollen belly, where their third child, another boy, she suspected kicked vigorously. The ranch had prospered under their joint stewardship. Olivia had proven to have a good head for business, helping Daniel expand their cattle operation and even starting a small side business selling preserves and baked goods to the general store in town. "Mama, look," Lily called, waving excitedly. "Jamie's sitting all by himself." Olivia waved back, her heart swelling with pride and love. What had begun as a desperate plea, "I'll work forever," had transformed into a life richer and more fulfilling than she could have imagined. Daniel looked up, catching her eye across the yard. Even after 5 years of marriage, that look still made her pulse quicken. He handed the pony's lead rope to Lily and crossed to the porch, mounting the steps to stand beside her. "How are my wife and son doing?" he asked, his hand joining hers on her rounded belly. "Restless," she replied with a smile. "He takes after his father, always in motion." Daniel laughed, pulling her close to his side. "No regrets?" he asked, a question he still posed occasionally as if to reassure himself that their happiness was real. Olivia turned in his embrace, rising on tiptoe to kiss him soundly. "Not a single one," she answered truthfully. "Working beside you as your wife was the best decision I ever made." As the Wyoming sun dipped toward the western mountains, painting the land in gold and amber, Olivia Sutton stood surrounded by the family and home she had helped build from desperation, and hope a testament to the love that had grown between a starving widow and the cowboy who had seen her worth when she could no longer see it herself.